Before you go any further, before you allow another thought to pass through your mind, I want you to pause and truly hear this. The feeling inside your chest, that quiet heaviness, that unspoken loneliness, that invisible weight you have been carrying, it is not a mistake and it is not meaningless. You are not here by accident, and this moment right now is not random. God has drawn you into this exact second because there is something your soul needs to receive. If you have been feeling unseen, misunderstood, or silently overwhelmed, this prayer is not just words. It is a divine encounter prepared specifically for you. Stay here. Do not rush away. Because what you are about to step into is not just a prayer, it is a turning point. And I want you right now, wherever you are, to whisper this softly within your heart. The Lord is my light. Even if you don't fully feel it yet, declare it. Because sometimes the declaration comes before the transformation. There is a kind of loneliness that cannot be explained easily. It is not always the absence of people. In fact, it often exists even when people are around you. It is the loneliness of feeling unseen in a crowded room, the ache of carrying thoughts and burdens that no one else fully understands, the silent distance between your inner world and the outside conversations you are forced to participate in. This is the loneliness that reaches deeper than words. And this is the loneliness that this prayer, rooted in Psalm 27, was written for. This is not a surface-level prayer for temporary comfort. This is a prayer for the soul that has been stretched, pressed, and quietly enduring more than it ever expected to carry. And if that is you, then understand this clearly. God is not distant from your experience. He is already present inside it. David, the writer of Psalm 27, was not writing from a place of peace or comfort. He was writing from pressure, from opposition, from betrayal, from a life that felt surrounded on every side. And yet, in the middle of all that, he made a declaration that defied his circumstances. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Notice what he did not say. He did not say, the Lord will be my light someday. He did not say, the Lord used to be my light. He said, the Lord is my light, present tense. Right now, in the middle of the confusion, in the middle of the uncertainty, in the middle of the loneliness. And this is where your transformation begins, not when everything around you changes, but when you choose to declare who God is within what you are currently facing. Father, in this moment, we come before you exactly as we are. Not pretending, not performing, not trying to appear stronger than we feel. We bring the real weight, the real questions, the real exhaustion, the real longing for something deeper than what we have been experiencing. Lord, you see every hidden part of us, the thoughts we cannot express, the emotions we struggle to understand, the silent prayers we have whispered without knowing if anyone was listening. And yet, you were always listening. You were always present. Even in the moments when we felt completely alone, you were there, closer than our own breath, holding us in ways we could not yet perceive. Today, we ask you to reveal that presence to us, not as an idea, but as a reality we can begin to feel, to trust, and to rest in. Lord, be our light. In the places where our minds feel clouded, where clarity has been replaced by confusion, where hope has dimmed into uncertainty, shine your light. Not a distant light, not a symbolic light, but a real, active, living light that breaks through the darkness within us. Because the darkness we are facing is not always external. Sometimes it is internal. Sometimes it is the quiet loss of direction, the fading sense of purpose, the slow erosion of joy. But you, God, are not intimidated by that darkness. Your light does not struggle against it. Your light overcomes it. And so today, we invite that light into every hidden corner of our hearts. Illuminate what has been unclear. Warm what has grown cold. Restore what has been quietly fading. There are people listening to this prayer right now who feel surrounded, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Surrounded by pressure, surrounded by expectations, surrounded by situations that feel heavier than they should be. And like David, they are asking silently, "How much longer can I carry this?" But Lord, today we shift that question. Because Psalm 27 does not teach us to focus on the weight of what surrounds us. It teaches us to focus on the strength of the one who is within us. Even if an army surrounds us, even if life feels overwhelming, even if the pressure does not immediately disappear, we declare, our confidence is not in the absence of difficulty, but in the presence of God. And that presence is here right now. Father, teach us what it truly means to dwell in your presence. Not to visit occasionally, not to come only when things become unbearable, but to live there, to make your presence the place where our soul resides daily. Because the deepest loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of feeling at home within our own soul. And you are the only one who can create that home within us. You are the only one who can fill that space in a way that is complete, steady, and unshaken by circumstances. So today, we choose something deeper than temporary relief. We choose to dwell. We choose to remain. We choose to return again and again, even when it feels quiet, even when it feels dry, even when we do not immediately feel anything. Because we trust that you are there, regardless of what we feel. Lord, for the one who feels invisible today, remind them that they are fully seen. Not partially seen, not misunderstood, not overlooked, fully seen. You see their strength and their struggle. You see their faith and their doubt. You see the way they keep going even when they feel like giving up. And you are not distant from that reality. You are intimately aware of it. And more than that, you are actively present within it. Wrap them in the assurance that they are not walking through this season alone. That even when human understanding falls short, your understanding does not. Even when human presence feels limited, your presence is limitless. And now, as we continue, let this truth settle deeply into your spirit. Your loneliness is not a punishment. It is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It is not proof that you have been abandoned. Sometimes it is the very place where God is doing his deepest work. The quiet place, the hidden place, the place where distractions are removed and something more real can begin to form within you. It does not feel comfortable, but it is not meaningless. And if you stay in this prayer, if you continue to open your heart, you will begin to see that even here, especially here, God is closer than you ever imagined. Stay with me, because in the next part, we are going to go deeper into what it truly means to dwell in God's presence, and how that changes everything about the way you experience loneliness, pressure, and the waiting season you are in. Stay with me, because what we are about to enter now is deeper than comfort. It is transformation. If you have come this far, it means something inside you is still reaching, still hoping, still refusing to give up completely. And that matters more than you realize. Because even the smallest desire to stay, to listen, to seek is evidence that your soul has not shut down. It is still alive, still responding to the quiet pull of God's presence. And today, we are not just going to speak about that presence. We are going to learn how to live inside it. Not occasionally, not emotionally, but consistently, intentionally, daily. David says in Psalm 27, "For one thing I ask from the Lord, this is what I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life." One thing, not 10 things, not a list of requests, not a long explanation of needs, just one, that I may dwell. And this is where everything begins to shift, because most of us have been taught to approach God through requests, asking for solutions, asking for relief, asking for change. And those prayers are valid, they matter. God hears them. But David reveals something deeper. The greatest answer is not always the change of circumstances. It is the nearness of God within those circumstances. There is a profound difference between visiting God and dwelling with Him. A visitor comes and goes. A visitor arrives when things feel urgent and leaves when things feel manageable again. A visitor experiences moments of connection, but those moments are temporary, inconsistent, dependent on emotional states or external situations. But a dweller, someone who truly lives in God's presence, operates differently. They return daily. They remain even when nothing dramatic is happening. They stay not because they feel something extraordinary every time, but because they understand that God's presence is not an event. It is a home. And this is where many people struggle without realizing it. Because when the emotional intensity fades, when the strong feelings of connection are not there, it can feel like God has become distant. It can feel like something is missing. But the truth is, nothing is missing. The presence is still there. What has changed is the feeling. And dwelling is not built on feelings, it is built on faithfulness. It is built on the quiet decision to return again and again, even when it feels ordinary, even when it feels dry, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. Beneath the surface, something is forming. Roots are going deeper. Stability is being built. Father, teach us how to dwell. Teach us how to stay in your presence without needing constant emotional confirmation. Teach us how to trust that you are here even when our feelings are quiet, because we have been conditioned to chase moments, to seek intensity, to measure connection by what we feel. But you are inviting us into something deeper, something more stable, more grounded, more real. You are inviting us into a relationship that does not rise and fall with our emotions, but stands firm on your unchanging presence. And today, we say yes to that invitation. Lord, for the person who has been feeling distant from you, not because they walked away, but because the feeling of closeness has faded, I ask you to gently remind them that you never left. You were present in every silent prayer. You were present in every moment they kept going, even without strength. You were present in the quiet, in the confusion, in the waiting. And today, begin to awaken within them a new awareness, not based on emotion, but based on truth, that you are here, right now. Closer than they have allowed themselves to believe. David continues to gaze on the beauty of the Lord. And this is something we must not overlook. Because when you are in survival mode, when you are dealing with pressure, loneliness, confusion, you are not naturally focused on beauty. You are focused on getting through. You are focused on solving, fixing, enduring. But David, in the middle of his difficulty, asks for something unexpected, to gaze, to slow down, to look at God not just as a solution, but as someone who is beautiful in himself. This changes everything. Because when God becomes only a solution, your relationship becomes transactional. You come, you ask, you wait, you evaluate. And when the answer does not come the way you expected, the relationship begins to feel strained. But when you begin to see God as beautiful, not just useful, but beautiful, your entire posture shifts. You begin to stay not just for answers, but for Him. You begin to rest, not just in what He can do, but in who He is. And in that resting, something deeper begins to heal. Lord, open our eyes to see your beauty, not in a distant, abstract way, but in a personal, intimate way. Let us encounter you beyond our needs. Let us see you beyond our requests. Let us discover the quiet, powerful satisfaction of simply being with you. Because there is a part of our soul that has been searching not just for solutions, but for presence, for something real, something steady, something that does not change when everything else does. And that something is you. For the one who has been reducing their relationship with you to repeated requests, restore the wonder. Restore the sense of awe. Restore the ability to sit in your presence without rushing, without striving, without needing immediate answers. Because in that stillness, in that gaze, in that quiet dwelling, healing begins. Not always suddenly, not always dramatically, but deeply, steadily, permanently. And now I want to speak directly to the wound that many are carrying, the wound of feeling unseen in relationships. The experience of giving your heart, your attention, your care, and feeling like it was not fully received. The ache of being misunderstood or partially known or simply not reached in the way you needed. That pain is real, and God does not ignore it. But He also offers something that no human relationship can fully provide: complete understanding, complete presence, complete knowing. Father, for every person carrying relational disappointment, we bring that pain before you. Not hiding it, not minimizing it, but placing it honestly in your hands. You see every moment where they felt overlooked. You see every attempt to connect that was not met in the way they hoped. And today, we ask you to meet them in that exact place, not with vague comfort, but with real presence. Fill the space that was left empty. Heal the places that were quietly wounded. And remind them that their worth is not determined by how fully others have seen them, but by how completely you already do. Lord, help us to stop expecting people to fill a place that only you can occupy. Help us to receive relationships as gifts, not as replacements for what only you can provide. Because when we place that weight on others, we set ourselves up for deeper disappointment. But when we are rooted in you, when we are grounded in your presence, we can engage with others freely, without desperation, without fear, without losing ourselves in the process. And now, as we continue to dwell in this moment, let this truth anchor itself within you. You are not alone in the way you think you are. The loneliness you feel is real, but it is not the full reality. Because underneath that feeling, beneath that perception, there is a presence that has never left you. A presence that has been waiting, not for you to become perfect, not for you to fix everything, but simply for you to return, to notice, to dwell. Stay here, because in the next part, we are going to go even deeper into how God shelters you in the middle of your struggle, and how your perspective begins to change when you truly begin to live from His presence instead of your circumstances. Stay with me, because now we are stepping into something that will begin to change how you see everything you are going through. Up until this point, we have been talking about dwelling, about learning to remain in God's presence. But now we move into what happens inside that dwelling. Because God's presence is not passive. It is not empty. It is not just a quiet place to sit. It is a place of protection, of repositioning, of transformation. And if you truly begin to understand this, you will realize that you are not as exposed, not as vulnerable, and not as alone as your situation has been telling you. Psalm 27:5 says, "For in the day of trouble he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock." Notice this carefully. The day of trouble still exists. The difficulty is not denied. The pressure is not removed immediately. But something else becomes more important than the presence of trouble: the position of the person inside it. Because where you stand determines how you experience what you are facing. And God is not just promising to help you endure the trouble. He is promising to position you differently within it. There are people listening right now who feel like they are standing at ground level in their situation. Everything feels close, intense, overwhelming. The problems feel bigger than they should. The emotions feel heavier than expected. The future feels unclear. And when you are at that level, everything appears magnified. But God says, "I will set you high upon a rock." That is not just poetic language. That is perspective. That is elevation. That is God lifting your inner position. So you are no longer seeing your life only through the lens of pressure, but through the lens of His presence. Father, right now, lift us, not physically, but internally. Lift our perspective above the immediate weight of what we are facing, because many of us have been stuck looking at our lives from the lowest point, measuring everything by what is going wrong, what is missing, what is uncertain. But you are inviting us higher. You are inviting us into a place where we can still see the situation, but we are no longer consumed by it. Where we can still acknowledge the difficulty, but it no longer defines us. Lord, raise our perspective. Help us to see as you see. Help us to stand where you are placing us, not where our fear has been keeping us. And then David says something even more powerful. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent. This is not hiding out of fear. This is hiding for protection. There is a difference. Because when God hides you, He is not removing you from purpose. He is protecting you while He prepares you. Some of you have been in a hidden season and you thought it meant you were forgotten. You thought it meant you were delayed, overlooked, left behind. But what if this season is not rejection? What if it is protection? What if God has placed you in a hidden space? Because there are things He is doing within you that cannot be rushed, cannot be exposed too early, cannot be interrupted by external noise. Lord, for every person who feels hidden right now, shift their understanding. Remove the lie that they have been forgotten. Remove the fear that they are falling behind, and replace it with truth, that they are being sheltered, that they are being formed, that they are being prepared. Because what you build in hidden places is stronger than what is built in public moments. What you develop in silence lasts longer than what is rushed in noise. And today, we choose to trust the shelter, even when we do not fully understand it. There is also something deeply important here for the person who feels emotionally exposed. The one who feels like everything affects them deeply. The one who feels like they have been carrying too much, feeling too much, processing too much. God is not asking you to become numb. He is not asking you to shut down your emotions. He is offering you a place of shelter within them, a place where your sensitivity becomes strength instead of burden, a place where your depth is not something to hide, but something that can be held safely within His presence. And then David says, "Then my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me." This is not arrogance. This is not pride. This is alignment. Because when your position changes, your posture changes. You no longer walk as someone defeated. You no longer think as someone overwhelmed. You begin to stand differently, not because your circumstances have completely changed, but because your identity within them has changed. You are no longer just someone trying to survive the situation. You are someone being sustained by God within it. Father, change our posture. There are people here who have been walking through life with their heads down, discouraged, uncertain, carrying silent defeat. But today, lift their heads, not in pride, but in confidence, not in self-reliance, but in trust. Let them begin to stand as someone who is held, someone who is guided, someone who is not alone. Because when you lift a person, everything about how they move through life begins to shift. And then something unexpected happens in Psalm 27:6. David says, "At his sacred tent I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord." Notice this carefully. The joy comes before the situation is resolved. The singing happens inside the difficulty. This is not natural. This is spiritual. Because real joy is not dependent on perfect circumstances. It is rooted in the presence of God. And when that presence becomes real to you, something inside you begins to rise, even if everything around you is still in process. Lord, restore joy. Not surface-level happiness, not temporary emotional relief, but deep, steady, unshakable joy that comes from being in your presence. For the one who has forgotten what joy feels like, awaken it again. For the one who has been going through the motions, bring life back into their spirit. Let them experience what it means to have a joy that does not depend on everything going right, but flows from knowing that you are with them, that you are working, that you are faithful. Because here is the truth you need to hold on to. You do not have to wait until everything is fixed to begin feeling restored. You do not have to wait until every question is answered to begin experiencing peace. You do not have to wait until the loneliness disappears to begin encountering presence. God meets you inside the process, not just at the end of it. And when you begin to recognize that, everything changes. Now I want to speak directly to the person who has been feeling overwhelmed by constant pressure. The kind of pressure that does not come and go but stays. The kind that makes you feel like you cannot fully rest, like you are always carrying something in the background of your mind. This part of Psalm 27 is for you, because God is not ignoring that pressure. He is offering you a different position within it. He is saying, "Come into my shelter. So let me hold what you have been trying to carry alone. Let me lift you above what has been weighing you down." Father, we release the weight, the pressure we have been carrying, the thoughts we have been holding, the burdens we have been trying to manage alone. We place them into your hands right now. Not because everything will instantly disappear, but because we trust that you are able to carry what we cannot. And as we release it, give us the peace that comes from knowing that we are no longer holding everything by ourselves. And as we come toward the close of this part, let this truth settle deeply within you. Your situation has not been greater than God's presence. It has only felt that way because of where you have been standing. But now, God is lifting you. Now He is sheltering you. Now He is changing your perspective. And from that place, you will begin to see things differently. Not perfectly, not instantly, but steadily, powerfully, undeniably. Stay with me, because in part 4, We are going to go deeper into what it means to seek God when He feels silent, and how your faith is strengthened in the very moments when you feel like nothing is happening. Stay here, because now we are entering one of the most honest and deeply human parts of this prayer, the place where faith does not feel strong, where God does not feel close, where seeking feels more like effort than encounter. This is the place most people avoid talking about, yet it is the place where the deepest spiritual transformation happens. Because real faith is not proven when everything feels clear. It is revealed when everything feels quiet, uncertain, and unresolved, and you still choose to seek. Psalm 27:8-9 says, "My heart says of you, seek His face. Your face, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger." Do you hear the tension in those words? David is not speaking from complete emotional certainty. He is not saying, "I feel your presence clearly right now." Instead, he is expressing something far more real. He is seeking while still feeling unsure. He is continuing while still feeling the weight of silence. And that is where many of you are right now. You are praying, but it feels quiet. You are seeking, but it feels distant. You are trying, but it feels like nothing is changing. But listen carefully. This does not mean God is absent. It means your faith is being deepened beyond feelings. Because there is a level of relationship with God that cannot be built on emotional experience alone. It must be built on trust. And trust is formed in the spaces where feelings are not enough to carry you. Father, for every person who has been seeking you in silence, who has been praying without clear response, who has been waiting without visible movement, meet them here. Not by removing the silence immediately, but by strengthening them within it. Because this silence is not emptiness. It is depth. It is where roots grow. It is where faith becomes real, not just emotional, not just temporary, but anchored, steady, unshaken. Lord, teach us to remain even when we do not feel rewarded. And teach us to seek, even when the seeking feels costly. David says, "Your face, Lord, I will seek." That is a decision, not based on immediate results, but based on commitment. And this is where many people stop without realizing it. Because when seeking no longer feels rewarding, it becomes difficult to continue. But this is exactly where the shift happens. Because when you continue to seek beyond what you feel, you begin to step into a deeper level of relationship. One that is not dependent on emotional highs, but grounded in enduring faithfulness. Lord, we choose to seek you, not only in the moments when it feels natural, but also in the moments when it feels difficult. Not only when we feel close, but also when we feel distant, because you are not changing based on our feelings. You are constant. You are steady. You are present, even when our awareness of that presence is not strong. And today, we choose to anchor ourselves in that truth. Now I want to speak directly to something that many carry quietly, the fear that God has turned away. The subtle thought that maybe the distance you feel is because of something you did, something you missed, something you failed to be. That maybe God is disappointed, maybe God is distant, maybe God is less engaged with you than before. But Psalm 27 challenges that thought directly. Because David himself says, "Do not hide your face from me," not because God has abandoned him, but because he feels the distance. And there is a difference between feeling distance and actual separation. God's presence is not determined by your perception. His faithfulness is not measured by your emotional state, and his commitment to you has not weakened. even if your awareness of him has. Father, break the lie that says you have turned away. Break the fear that says we are distant because we have failed. Replace it with truth, that you are near, that you are attentive, that you are faithful beyond what we can currently feel. Let your presence begin to become real again, not necessarily through overwhelming emotion, but through a steady, quiet assurance that grows stronger over time. Now we come to one of the most powerful and healing verses in this psalm, Psalm 27:10. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. This is not just a poetic line. This is a lifeline for the soul that has experienced rejection, abandonment, or deep relational disappointment. Because there are wounds that come from people, wounds that shape how you see yourself, how you trust others, how you even approach God. And those wounds do not disappear easily. But this verse speaks directly into that pain. Even if the closest relationships fail, even if the people who were supposed to stay did not stay, even if the support you expected was not there, God says, I will receive you, not tolerate you, not accept you reluctantly, receive you fully, intentionally, personally. Lord, for every heart carrying the weight of abandonment, speak directly into that wound. The moments they felt left behind, the times they felt replaced, overlooked, or not enough, the relationships that did not hold the way they hoped. You saw every one of those moments, and today we ask you to meet them in that exact place, not with distant comfort, but with personal presence. Let them feel what it means to be received, to be welcomed, to be held without condition. Because being received changes everything. It removes the constant need to prove yourself. It silences the fear of not being enough. It replaces insecurity with stability. And from that place, something new begins to grow, not desperation, not fear, but freedom. David continues, Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path. Do you see the connection? After being received, he asks to be led. Because when you know you are secure, you can follow without fear. When you know you are accepted, you can trust direction without anxiety. But when you feel uncertain about your place, every decision becomes heavy, every step becomes complicated, every choice feels risky. Lord, lead us, not through confusion, not through fear, but through clarity. Teach us your way, not just in big decisions, but in daily life, in how we think, how we respond, how we move forward. Because many of us have been making decisions from a place of loneliness, from a place of fear, from a place of emotional need. But today, shift our foundation. Let our choices come from security, not scarcity, from trust, not desperation. And for the one who has been holding onto something out of fear of being alone, give them courage. For the one who has been settling for less than what they deserve because the alternative feels too empty, give them strength. For the one who feels stuck, unsure of what to do next, give them clarity, one step at a time. Because God's leading is not always loud, but it is always faithful. It may not come all at once, but it comes in direction, in peace, in small confirmations that guide you forward. And when you are rooted in His presence, you begin to recognize that guidance more clearly. Now, as we come toward the close of this part, I want you to understand something deeply important. The silence you have been experiencing is not rejection, it is refinement. The waiting you have been in is not wasted, it is preparation. And the seeking you are continuing, even when it feels difficult, is not unnoticed. It is building something inside you that will hold you in seasons to come. Stay here because in part 5, we are going to step into one of the most powerful truths of this entire psalm. The understanding that your loneliness is not punishment, but a season of formation, and how that changes the meaning of everything you are going through. Stay with me because what we are about to step into now may be the most important shift in your entire understanding of this season. Up until this point, you have been feeling the weight of loneliness, the pressure of waiting, the quiet of unanswered questions. And somewhere, perhaps not even consciously, a thought has been forming. Why is this happening to me? Did I do something wrong? Is this a sign that something is missing in my faith or in me? But now we must confront that thought with truth. Because if you misunderstand the meaning of your season, you will misinterpret everything you are experiencing inside it. And Psalm 27 does not present loneliness as punishment. It does not present waiting as failure. It does not present silence as rejection. Instead, it reveals something deeper, something far more powerful. This is a season of formation. David, the writer of this psalm, was not a man abandoned by God. He was a man deeply known by God, a man described as someone after God's own heart. And yet he experienced loneliness. He experienced opposition. He experienced seasons where God's presence had to be sought, not just felt. That means your current experience is not evidence of God's absence. It is evidence that you are walking through a real, human, faith-forming process. Father, right now, shift our understanding. Where we have seen punishment, reveal purpose. Where we have assumed failure, reveal formation. Because the enemy often uses misunderstanding to create unnecessary suffering. But your truth brings clarity, and clarity brings peace. So today we receive a new perspective. This season is not against us, it is working within us. There are things God can only build in quiet places. There are depths of character, strength, and faith that cannot be developed in constant noise, constant comfort, or constant external validation. And so sometimes, God allows a season where those external supports are reduced, not to harm you, but to draw you deeper, to bring you into a place where your roots are not dependent on people, not dependent on circumstances, but anchored in Him alone. And I know this is not easy. Formation rarely feels comfortable. It often feels like stretching, like pressure, like being asked to carry more than you expected. But what is happening beneath the surface is significant. Something stronger is being built. Something more stable is being formed. Something that will not collapse when the next challenge comes. Lord, give us the strength to receive this season, not with resistance, not with frustration, but with understanding. Help us to cooperate with what you are doing instead of fighting against it. Because when we resist the season, we delay the growth. But when we receive it, we begin to move through it with purpose. Now I want to speak directly to the person who feels like this season has been too long. The one who is tired of waiting. The one who feels like they have been in this place longer than they should be. The one who quietly asks, "How much longer, God?" Psalm 27 answers that question not by giving a timeline, but by giving a promise. Verse 13 says, "I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." Notice that in the land of the living, not just in eternity, not just in some distant future, but here, in your life, in your days, in your reality. This means your story is not ending in this place. This season is not the final chapter. There is goodness ahead. There is breakthrough ahead. There is restoration ahead. You may not see it yet, but it is coming. And your role in this moment is not to force it into existence. It is to remain confident even before you can see it. Father, strengthen our confidence. Not a shallow optimism, not forced positivity, but deep, grounded confidence in your faithfulness. Because many of us have been measuring our hope by what we can currently see. But you are calling us to something higher, to anchor our hope in who you are, not just in what we understand. And then comes one of the most powerful instructions in this entire psalm, Psalm 27:14. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting. This is where many struggle the most, because waiting feels like inaction. It feels like delay. It feels like being stuck in between where you are and where you want to be. But biblical waiting is not passive. It is active. It requires strength. It requires endurance. It requires a decision to keep moving forward internally, even when externally things seem still. Waiting is not doing nothing. It is trusting God while something is still in process. Lord, teach us how to wait, not with frustration, not with resignation, but with strength. Because your word says, be strong and take heart. That means waiting is not weakness. It is courage. It is choosing to remain when it would be easier to give up. It is choosing to trust when it would be easier to doubt. It is choosing to stay grounded when everything feels uncertain. For the one who feels like giving up, breathe strength into them right now. For the one who feels exhausted by the process, renew their spirit. For the one who feels like nothing is changing, remind them that unseen progress is still progress. Because just because something is not visible does not mean it is not happening. There is something else you must understand about waiting. It often works together with loneliness. The season where you feel alone is often the same season where you are waiting for something new to emerge. Waiting for clarity, waiting for connection, waiting for restoration, waiting for direction. And in that space, it can feel like nothing is happening. But in reality, everything is being prepared. God is not late. He is not unaware. He is not ignoring your situation. He is working on things you cannot yet see, aligning circumstances, preparing people, shaping you internally so that when what you are waiting for arrives, you are ready to receive it fully. Father, help us to trust your timing, because impatience often leads us to settle for less than what you have prepared. It leads us to force connections, rush decisions, accept situations that are not aligned with your will, simply because we do not want to feel the discomfort of waiting. But today, we choose something different. We choose to trust. We choose to wait well. We choose to believe that what you are preparing is worth the process we are going through. And now, as this part comes to a close, let this truth settle deeply within you. Your loneliness has not been meaningless. Your waiting has not been wasted. Your silence has not been empty. All of it has been part of a process that is shaping you into someone stronger, deeper, more rooted than before. You are not falling behind. You are being prepared. Stay with me, because in the final part, we are going to bring everything together into a powerful closing prayer. A declaration of faith, strength, and confidence that will anchor your heart as you move forward from this moment. Stay with me, because this is where everything comes together. This is not just the ending of a prayer. It is the moment where you decide what you will carry with you after this. Because what you have been hearing, what you have been feeling, what has been stirring inside you, it is not meant to remain here. It is meant to go with you into your day, into your thoughts, into your next steps. Right now, I want you to become aware of something very simple but very powerful. You are still here. You did not leave. You did not turn away. You stayed through the wait, through the silence, through the truth that confronted you. And that says something about you. It says your faith is still alive. It says your heart is still open. It says that even in the middle of everything you have been carrying, there is still something inside you that refuses to give up on God. And that matters more than you realize. Psalm 27 closes with a declaration that is not based on circumstances. It is based on decision. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. This is not just David's declaration anymore. This is yours. This is the truth you will carry forward. Not because everything is suddenly resolved, but because you have chosen where you will stand in the middle of what is unresolved. Father, we come before you now with everything we have walked through in this prayer. The loneliness, the waiting, the questions, the quiet places, the hidden struggles, none of it is wasted in your presence. And now we make a decision. We choose confidence, not because we can see everything clearly, but because we trust you completely. We choose to believe that your goodness is not behind us, not distant from us, but ahead of us, waiting to be revealed in our real, everyday lives. Lord, for every person listening right now, anchor this confidence deep within their spirit. Let it not be a passing feeling, but a steady foundation, because the days ahead will still have challenges. The loneliness may try to return, the waiting may continue, but now something has changed inside them. Now they are not facing those things from the same place. Now they are grounded in truth. Now they are rooted in your presence. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Let that become your daily declaration. Not just something you say once, but something you carry. When fear tries to rise, speak it. When doubt tries to settle, speak it. When loneliness tries to convince you that you are alone, speak it again. The Lord is my light. Lord, be the light in their daily life. In the ordinary moments, the quiet mornings, the long afternoons, the silent evenings, be present. Not just in extraordinary ways, but in steady, consistent, undeniable ways. Let them begin to notice you in small things, in moments of peace, in sudden clarity, in quiet strength that appears when they thought they had none left. Let your presence become something they recognize, not just something they hope for. Father, for the one who is stepping out of this prayer still carrying questions, remind them that unanswered questions do not cancel your faithfulness. For the one who is still waiting, remind them that waiting does not mean abandonment. For the one who still feels a trace of loneliness, remind them that feeling alone is not the same as being alone, because you are there. You have always been there, and you will not leave. Now I want to pray specifically for strength, because Psalm 27 does not just say, wait. It says, be strong and take heart. That means strength is required. Not physical strength, but inner strength. The kind that allows you to keep going, to keep trusting, to keep believing even when things are not fully clear. Lord, release that strength right now, into the heart that feels tired, into the mind that feels overwhelmed, into the soul that feels stretched. Strength that is not forced, not manufactured, but given. Strength that rises quietly, steadily, powerfully. Strength that allows them to take one more step and then another without losing hope. And as they move forward from this moment, teach them what it means to dwell, not just in this prayer, but in daily life, to return to you again and again, to build a rhythm of presence, to create a space within their life where you are not just visited, but where you are lived with. Because that is where stability is found. That is where peace becomes consistent. That is where loneliness begins to lose its power. Lord, for every person listening, let this not be just a moment. Let it be the beginning of a practice, the beginning of returning, the beginning of dwelling, the beginning of a deeper, steadier, more real relationship with you. And now, we make this final declaration together. We will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. We will wait for the Lord. We will be strong. We will take heart. We will trust even here. Because you are faithful, because you are present, because you are working even when we cannot see it. Father, seal this prayer in their hearts. Let it stay with them long after these words end. Let it rise again when they need it most. Let it become a voice inside them that speaks truth when everything else feels uncertain. And now, as you step out of this moment and back into your day, carry this with you. You are not alone. You have never been alone. And you will not walk alone in what comes next. If this prayer met you in a real place, hold on to this declaration. The Lord is my light. Let it stay with you. Let it guide you. Let it remind you that even in the quiet, even in the waiting, even in the unseen, the light is still there. In the name of Jesus, Amen. Stay with me just a little longer, because this is where we lock everything into your life. Not just as a prayer you heard, but as a reality you begin to live. What you have received through these moments is not fragile. It is not temporary, but it must be anchored. Because if you walk away without anchoring it, the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same patterns will try to reclaim their place. So right now, we are not just ending, we are establishing. There is something powerful about what happens after a moment like this. The enemy does not fight you when you are distracted. He fights you when you are becoming aware. He fights you when truth begins to settle in. He fights you when your perspective starts to shift. And that is why what you do next matters, because this is not just about what you felt here. This is about what you carry from here. So I want you to understand this clearly. You are not going back to the same place internally. You may return to the same environment, the same responsibilities, the same situations, but you are not returning as the same person. Something has shifted. Something has been planted. Something has begun. Father, seal what you have started. Do not let this moment fade as just another experience. Let it take root. Let it grow. Let it become something that continues to unfold in the hours, days, and weeks ahead. Because what you do is not temporary. What you begin, you sustain. And today, we trust that you are continuing the work beyond this moment. Now I want to give you something simple, but powerful. A daily activation. Something you can return to when the loneliness tries to come back, when the waiting feels heavy again, when the silence feels loud. 3 declarations, simple, but transformative if you truly live them. 1. The Lord is my light. When confusion comes, declare it. When your mind feels clouded, declare it. When you feel like you cannot see clearly, declare it anyway. Because clarity does not always come before declaration. Sometimes it comes after it. 2. I choose to dwell, not visit. This is your daily decision. Not to run to God only when things feel overwhelming, but to return consistently. Even if it is quiet, even if it is brief, even if it does not feel powerful. Because dwelling is built in consistency, not intensity. 3. I will see God's goodness in my life. Not someday, not in theory, in your life, in your reality, in your story. This is your anchor in the waiting. This is what keeps your heart steady when things are still unfolding. Lord, let these declarations become more than words. Let them become internal realities. Let them shape how we think, how we respond, how we move forward. Because transformation is not just about what we feel. It is about what we consistently choose to believe. Now I want to speak directly to the part of you that is still uncertain. The part that says, "What if nothing changes?" The part that quietly fears that after this moment, everything will go back to how it was. Listen carefully. Change does not always begin externally. It begins internally. And internal change is the most powerful kind because it eventually reshapes everything else. You may not see immediate results around you, but if something inside you has shifted, your perspective, your understanding, your awareness of God's presence, then everything has already begun to change, because you will no longer respond the same way. You will no longer interpret things the same way. You will no longer carry things the same way. And that is how transformation starts, quietly, gradually, but powerfully. Father, give them patience with the process, because real transformation is not instant, it is progressive. It unfolds, it deepens, it strengthens over time. And today we commit not just to the moment, but to the process. And now, before we close completely, I want you to take one slow, intentional breath. Let everything settle. Let the noise quiet down. Let the weight lift, even if just slightly. And in that stillness, hear this clearly. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not alone. And this season is not the end of your story. God is still writing. God is still working. God is still present. And you are still being formed into something stronger than you were before. So as you move forward from here, do not rush. Do not overthink. Do not try to control everything. Just take the next step with awareness, with trust, with quiet confidence that you are not walking by yourself anymore. Because you never were. Carry this with you. The Lord is your light. And that is enough for today.